Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, weary and worn down from a day celebrating my now 11-year-old's birthday. His birthday was Thursday, and we celebrated with just him, my wife, and I. But today was for his other friends and extended family. So 2 good days that he got to celebrate his birthday. He's having a blast. But let's get to it. We are here for Savage Saturday Comic Review 35. All right, 35 of them already. It feels like I just started this series not too long ago. Anyway, as I've done for the last couple, I've had fun highlighting different artists that have tackled Conan. This week will be no different, but the book itself is a bit different. And this happened a few times in these Conan comics. So this one, issue 64. All right, great cover. And the thing you're going to know about this, and again, a John Buscema cover, but the thing you're going to know about this is this cover is not the contents of this comic. The inker for this particular issue that the cover is selling you was running behind, so they postponed the issue and they put a reprint in this one. And in this issue is a reprint story from Savage Tales number 3, a story that originally appeared in black and white. I'll give you a quick peek just so you can see it. So in issue 64, as it ended up being a reprint, was the first time that this story appeared in color. And that has its pluses and its minuses. But we are going to get to that story here. And in this big format, this story shines. It seems a little constrained in the smaller format, but it's still a great story. I'm going to show you a few of the black and white pages and just how beautifully constructed they are. And this is Jim Starlin art. He did a fantastic job in this issue. And this is a story I've read a couple times already this year. It's one I keep revisiting. And it's just fun. And there's looking at the black and white in Savage Tales, I can see a page that they cut out of that one to make it a little more PG. But I do want to show you the main splash page in black and white before we see it in color. And you can see the great detail. And this is the original magazine. This isn't a reprint. This is the original story. This is a pretty high grade copy. I'm pretty happy with it. So first appeared in Savage Tales number 3. Now we're in Conan the Barbarian 64, and if it wasn't for someone being behind, we wouldn't have got the cool color reprint. Again, highlighting Jim Starlin's art in this issue, and just another, Al Milgrom inked them in this too. I should mention that Al Milgrom does fantastic inks, and he was the inker in this issue. Of course, it's early Conan, so you know Roy Thomas wrote it. And the thing I like about this issue is it highlights a different aspect that's always there, but doesn't usually take the forefront with Conan, and that's his compassion. And his compassion gets him in trouble sometimes as often as wine and women. So our favorite barbarian, our favorite Cimmerian, has a few weaknesses. But here we go with the opening splash, and just really nice. And again, I'll just start posting art over there. So Conan's traveling. He's on his way from one city to the next, and he's trying to get to Shadazar. He's weary. He's looking for water, and he meets this old wizard who gives him a warning. Conan, being tired and grumpy, kind of doesn't heed it, but it's in the back of his mind. He doesn't get too far, and this just giant of a man takes a swing at him with a club, nearly takes his head off, ends up killing Conan's horse. Conan ends up killing the giant. and we're off and running with the story, right? So you're thinking just bad luck on the way to Shadazar. But Conan stops when he finds water, and he's dipping in, he's getting wet, he's refreshing himself, and he sees a reflection of a death's head in the water, and he wakes up, and he's in the care of this woman named Naya. And he thinks he's been out for a day, only to learn that he's been passed out for a week. Whatever happened to him there took him down. He was out. And they saved him, but they didn't save him without intentions for him. So she has a father, Thorvald, and they want to employ Conan's services to overthrow an evil wizard that has a hold on their kingdom. I know. Conan, Hyborian Age, evil wizard. Conan's got to fight him. Surprises all around. Doesn't matter. It's a great story. So Conan's not completely sold on it. They're telling him, and there's people with robes following her and her dad as they're talking to Conan. They're hooded. He can't see their faces, and he's asking why they're always following around, only to learn that the water he was about to drink and the water that they were drinking has all been poisoned and ensorcelled by this mage, right? And they're rotting as they've already been poisoned, and these people are being mutated and they're dying horrible deaths. The whatever's in the water is giving them like this flesh melting disease, and they're slowly being torn apart inside and out. And when one of the people dehoods himself and Conan sees, there's a great panel where it's just Conan's face all in gray, and he's like, I'll help you. Conan has a code of honor. Conan always lives by this code of honor. And he's looking at Naya, and they tell them that he doesn't have any gold, but they promise him any reward in the village if he can help them out. Well, he's looking towards Naya. Our favorite Sumerian gets in trouble for a couple of different reasons, which we know, and a promise is made. But Conan and Naya set out, and they're going to overthrow the wizard and the guy whose employ he is in. Once they arrive there, Conan's got to scale the walls and get inside. Being a Sumerian, he's a natural climber. He gets in. He got no issues. He's there. But he enters his room, and doors start lowering, and he's trapped in a cage. All right, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I just had it, and as soon as I go to tell you, of course I forget it. Phosphus, I think his name was, and anyway, so the main Sophis. So the main bad guy Sophis, who is a wizard who is ensorceling all this water and just causing this havoc and these people to die. And once he's locked in this cage, Conan thinks he's just going to be left there to rot. But there's another giant in the cage. As it turns out, it's the brother of the giant Conan already killed. So Sophis leaves him behind, and he's gone. Sophis isn't the wizard. I'm sorry. Sophis is the king and the wizard. He's going to visit him now, and Conan's left alone with this giant, and they're fighting. And Conan is fighting for his life. He's ready to kill, but he sees something in the guy, and this is where Conan's compassion comes in again, because Conan soundly whoops him, and he's about to kill him, and the giant's like, "Please, just get it done." And Conan's like, "You want a guy? I don't understand." And he goes, "Wouldn't you if you looked like me?" And Conan starts talking to him and learns what's happened to him and how he's been used and how he's been punished, how he's been promised a cure for his condition. And Conan promises to help the giant if the giant shows him where Phosphus is and where his sorcerer is. And the sorcerer has like a Maxander, and so the giant agrees, and they go in there and they meet the guy Boss Sophis and Max and Xander. And I am so sorry, guys. I am so tired. And a battle ensues. Conan's in there, and they're watching just before the battle happens. And the wizard, Max and Xander, has figured out how to turn lead into gold. He's finally figured out the spell. Him and the young king, they're going to get rich, and they're going to rule, and they've got their plans, which are now soundly destroyed by Conan and the giant. And so Conan and the giant go in there, and they end up just in this battle. They learn that the giant doesn't have long to live. There never was a cure for him. And they kill the two bad guys only to see the giant die shortly after. And there was only one person, Conan's ruminating, that was worth mourning in that room. And that was the giant, who actually had a kind of gentle heart. And Conan, upon hearing his tale, knowing that he was just a normal sized human before they messed with him, he's got great compassion for him. But Conan returns to the village upon defeating the foes. And he's talking about the reward he was promised, and she's ready to give it to him. And there's a great panel where she's standing next to a horse, and Conan walks up to her, smiles, and then you just see his hand like this, and she's gone. He pushes her away, and they're like, "What?" But it's Conan. He wants the girl. And you forgot that Conan's horse was killed in the beginning of this issue. And then you go back to the panels before, and it was set up beautifully, and you see that there was a horse in the panel when Conan looked away. But being a reader and knowing Conan, you assumed it was a woman. And the joke was that he just wanted a new horse, a new steed all along. He jumps on, and he's gone out of town, back on his way to Shadowzar. But great issue, great story. Really highlights the compassion of Conan. Written really well by Roy Thomas. Really fun issue with Jim Starlin, who really drew a menacing wizard in this issue. The wizard design is great. He's such a perfectly evil face. And if I had to nitpick, I'd say his Conan face is a little off, but it's still pretty good. But great issue all around. Again, highlighting Conan's compassion, the humanity in Conan. For everyone that calls him a barbarian, he's much more civil and much more full of justice than any of the civilized people he comes in contact with. And his code of ethics is there. His code of his Sumerian brothers, where he grew up, is always intact. And he's always true to that, true to himself, even if it gets him in trouble. And you still see why Conan's a survivor in this, but it's not the highlight. His compassion is. So it was a great story. Great inks by Al Milgrom, who always seems to do a fine job of it. And in the end, it even had a fun little toy ad, which I thought I'd highlight too. It's called Eagle Eye G.I. Joe Meets the Intruder. So this was an ad for a G.I. Joe toy, and they gave it a little comic strip as the ad. So a little bit of extra fun there at the end. But overall, we're going to give this cover. It's a John Buscema cover with him, Belet, a serpent, and a horde of people they're fighting. So that's an A+ off the bat. No disputes. The interior art, we're going to give an A. Not an A+, because sometimes I thought Jim Starlin's Conan face was a bit wonky. But it was still an A all around. Great storytelling. What excelled here was the panel setups. Jim Starlin did a lot of great stuff with the panels, which you've been seeing over here. Really imaginative designs, really great layouts, and it really added to the flow of the story. It was really well done. We're going to give the story an A+. It's everything you wanted in a Conan tale. And it was fun beginning to end, and just seeing the compassion of Conan was great. Conclusion, we're going to give an A+, especially with the joke at the end. They hit you with something unexpected. It worked beautifully, and the way Jim Starlin portrayed it was absolutely fantastic. So conclusion gets an A+ as well. So we're going to call this an A+ issue all around, and really loved it. If you run across issue 64, grab it because the reprint inside is a great story. And if you find Savage Tales 5, pick that up too. Fun read. It is fantastic in the black and white. Now, having read the black and white and owning the color reprint and reading that, I like the black and white more. It seems to fit this darker story a little bit more, and this story definitely has horror touches in it. And this is another like horror kind of influenced issue, and it works. It works so well. Really great issue. I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and until next time, keep it casual.